The summer of 2024 marked a dramatic turning point in the Russo-Ukrainian War, a conflict that had already reshaped the region and captured the world's attention for years. As the days grew longer, the war entered a phase that few had anticipated, with both sides bracing for what would come next. After years of brutal fighting and devastating losses on Ukrainian soil, Ukraine made a bold and unprecedented move, a cross-border offensive into Russia's Kursk region. This was not just another battle, it was a statement, a signal that the war's boundaries were no longer fixed. The scale of this operation was staggering. It was the largest cross-border action in Europe since World War II, echoing the massive troop movements of the past. Ukraine's goal was clear: to create a protective buffer for the vulnerable city of Sumy, disrupt the intricate web of Russian logistics, and force Moscow to divert its military might away from other critical fronts. Ukrainian forces, now equipped with a powerful mix of Western-supplied and domestically produced weapons, advanced rapidly. They seized dozens of settlements, pushing deep into Russian territory and catching Russian defenders off guard. The sight of Ukrainian flags flying over newly captured villages sent shockwaves through the region. The operation sent a clear and unmistakable message: Ukraine was not only capable of defending itself, but could also strike back, shattering the illusion of Russian invulnerability that had persisted for so long. For Russian civilians, the distant thunder of explosions was a chilling reminder that the war had come home. The psychological shock inside Russia was as significant as the military gains on the ground. The Kremlin, caught off guard by the speed and audacity of the Ukrainian advance, was forced to redeploy elite units from the embattled regions of Donetsk and Zaporizhia, weakening its grip elsewhere. The Kursk offensive was more than just a territorial push, it was a strategic feint, carefully designed to relieve the relentless pressure on Ukrainian defenders in the Donbas. By opening a new front, Ukraine forced Russia to rethink its entire strategy. By stretching Russian forces thin across multiple regions, Ukraine seized the initiative. This bold maneuver set the stage for a new kind of warfare, one defined by unpredictability, rapid movement, and the constant threat of escalation. The battles in Kursk showcased Ukraine's growing mastery of modern tactics. Speed, surprise, and cutting-edge technology, especially the use of drones and real-time intelligence, became the hallmarks of this new phase of the conflict. The ambush of a Russian armored convoy near Sudzha would become the defining moment of this new front, symbolizing Ukraine's ability to adapt, innovate, and strike where least expected. The war had entered uncharted territory, and the world was watching closely. Success in ambush relies on patience and preparation. Near Sudzha, Ukrainian forces chose a bridge, a natural choke point, as their kill zone. They studied Russian routes, positioned artillery within range, and set up hidden observation posts and drone teams for constant surveillance. Ukrainian units maintained strict radio silence and camouflage, letting Russian scouts pass to avoid revealing their trap. The real target was the main armored column, the spearhead of Russia's counterattack. Every hour of waiting increased tension, but discipline held. Coordination was key. Drone operators watched, artillery crews waited, and ground troops stood ready to block any escape. This was a complex, synchronized operation relying on flawless timing. The trap was set, the Ukrainians waited for the perfect moment to strike. Drones were the backbone of Ukraine's ambush, providing a silent, ever-present eye in the sky. These machines, small and agile, could linger for hours above the battlefield, invisible to those below. Their presence was constant, their gaze unblinking, and their value immeasurable. High above, small UAVs tracked every move of the Russian convoy, feeding live video to Ukrainian command. Every turn, every pause, every acceleration was recorded and relayed in real time, creating a detailed picture of the enemy's intentions and vulnerabilities. This real-time intelligence stripped away the fog of war for Ukraine, while the Russians advanced blindly, unaware that their every move was being watched and analyzed. The drone operators, calm and focused, became the unseen sentinels of the battlefield. Drones identified the convoy's composition, route, and speed, confirming it was heading for the bridge. They could distinguish between tanks, armored vehicles, and supply trucks, allowing Ukrainian forces to prioritize their targets with surgical precision. Operators could zoom in, mark high-value targets, and relay precise coordinates to artillery. This seamless flow of information meant that Ukrainian gunners were never firing blindly. They knew exactly what they were aiming at and where it was moving. The sensor-to-shooter link was revolutionary. artillery could adjust fire instantly based on drone feedback. Misses could be corrected within seconds, and new threats could be engaged as soon as they appeared on the drone's feed. The Russians, unaware they were being watched, advanced into a meticulously prepared kill zone. Their confidence was their undoing, as they had no idea that every movement was being tracked and anticipated. Ukraine's information superiority turned a risky engagement into a calculated ambush. Commanders could adapt their plans on the fly, responding instantly to changes on the battlefield. The trap was as much digital as physical, woven from data and precision. Every pixel of drone footage contributed to the web that would ensnare the Russian convoy. The stage was set for devastation. In the silence before the storm, the drones hovered above, ready to witness the destruction they had helped orchestrate. Centering the ambush on the bridge was a tactical gamble, one that would demand both precision and nerves of steel. The bridge itself was more than just a crossing point, it was a bottleneck, a place where the chaos of battle could be channeled and controlled. For the Ukrainian defenders, it was the perfect stage for a deadly trap. The bridge forced Russian vehicles into a single file, making them easy targets, but also giving them a clear objective. There was no room to maneuver, no way to turn back quickly. Every vehicle that entered was committed, exposed, and vulnerable. Ukrainian commanders bet that Russian urgency would override caution. They knew the enemy was desperate to push forward, to seize ground before Ukrainian reinforcements could arrive. The plan relied on the Russians' need for speed, hoping it would blind them to the danger ahead. The terrain around the bridge made bypassing impossible, channeling the column into the kill zone. Steep riverbanks and muddy fields hemmed in the road, leaving the bridge as the only viable crossing for miles. Anti-tank teams and machine guns were hidden, covering the bridge's entrance and exit. Every approach was watched, every angle calculated. The defenders waited in silence, their weapons trained on the narrow span. Timing was everything. The ambush would strike when the convoy was fully committed, trapping it between destroyed vehicles. The first explosions would block the exit, sealing the fate of those still on the bridge. Too early and some might escape. Too late and the Russians could establish a foothold. The margin for error was razor thin, and every second felt like an eternity for the soldiers lying in wait. Watching through drone feeds, Ukrainian commanders waited for the lead tank to reach the bridge. The tension in the command post was palpable, as every eye tracked the convoy's progress in real time. 14 vehicles rumbled forward, oblivious to the danger. Engines roared and treads clattered, the column advancing with grim determination, unaware that every movement was being watched from above. The moment of decision arrived. The order would have to be given at exactly the right instant, when retreat was impossible and the enemy was most exposed. The trap was about to spring. In the next few seconds, the fate of the entire Russian column, and perhaps the battle itself, would be decided. As the Russian convoy reached its most vulnerable point, Ukraine unleashed its artillery. The first shells struck the front and rear vehicles, sealing the column in place. With the convoy immobilized, Ukrainian gunners poured fire onto the trapped vehicles. Drone operators directed strikes onto command vehicles and dismounting infantry, maximizing chaos. Precision-guided shells and cluster munitions saturated the kill zone, leaving Russian soldiers nowhere to hide. The Russian command structure collapsed instantly. Panic and confusion reigned. Some soldiers remained trapped in burning vehicles, others scattered for cover. None were safe. Drones tracked every movement, adjusting fire to target survivors. The ambush was relentless, coordinated, and devastating. The Russian column was being systematically destroyed. The road to Sudzha became a scene of utter destruction. The lead tank and rear vehicle burned, trapping the entire Russian column. Ukrainian artillery, guided by drones, struck vehicle after vehicle with ruthless precision. Explosions tore through the convoy. Secondary blasts sent turrets flying. Russian survivors faced a hopeless choice: stay in their vehicles or flee into the woods, both under drone-guided fire. Communication broke down. Leaders were among the first casualties. The engagement was one-sided. Russian forces couldn't see or strike back at their attackers. The bridge and road became a graveyard of Russian armor. The few survivors abandoned their equipment and retreated in chaos. Ukraine's tech-enabled tactics had turned the battle into an execution. The Sudzha ambush was a brutal demonstration of modern warfare. When the smoke cleared, the devastation was total. Of 14 Russian vehicles, at least 7 were destroyed, 1 tank, 5 IFVs and an APC. The rest were damaged, abandoned, or retreated in disarray. Russian casualties were severe, survivors fled, leaving behind dead, wounded, and millions in equipment. For Ukraine, the ambush was a resounding success with minimal risk. Drone footage of the burning column spread online, boosting Ukrainian morale and exposing Russian vulnerability. The Sudzha Road became a symbol of Russian overconfidence and Ukrainian ingenuity. The Sudzha ambush was part of a larger Ukrainian strategy. Repeated losses forced Russia to reinforce Kursk, pulling troops from Donetsk and Zaporizhia. This weakened Russian offensives elsewhere. Artillery pressure on Ukrainian positions dropped dramatically. Ukraine's limited offensive had far-reaching consequences, forcing Russia to react and relieving pressure on the Donbas. The Kremlin had to commit tens of thousands of troops just to stabilize Kursk. These were resources Russia could no longer use to pursue its main objectives in Ukraine. The ambushes in Kursk shifted the strategic balance in Ukraine's favor. The Sudzha ambush is a blueprint for modern warfare. It proved that real-time intelligence and precision firepower can overcome superior numbers. Ukraine's integration of drones with artillery made legacy weapons devastatingly effective. This approach is adaptable, resilient, and difficult for conventional armies to counter. The psychological impact on Russian troops, knowing they were always watched, was profound. Every road became a potential kill zone, every quiet moment a prelude to sudden attack. The Kursk operation showed Ukraine as an innovative military power, not just a defender. As of August 2025, these lessons continue to shape Ukrainian strategy. The burning wrecks near Sudzha are a stark reminder: the future belongs to those who adapt and innovate. In modern war, mastery of sensors and shooters is decisive.